After producing some really good young players like LaMelo Ball and Josh Giddey over the past couple of years, this 2022, Australia's National Basketball League or NBL is once again primed to bring another high-caliber rookie to the NBA. This time, it comes in the form of 6'10" French two-way phenom Ousmane Dieng, who's projected to be a lottery selection in the 2022 NBA Draft. But aside from Dieng, there's another overseas talent from the NBL who has reportedly intrigued a lot of NBA scouts with his potential despite not being included in most mock drafts, and that is 20-year-old 7'3" Filipino big man Kai Sotto of the Adelaide 36ers, who is on pace to become the first full-blooded Filipino to play in the NBA. Over the past couple of weeks, Sotto has participated in pre-draft workouts with teams such as the Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, Chicago Bulls, and the Sacramento Kings, just to name a few, which is actual proof of NBA teams' interest surrounding the Filipino big man's unique combination of size and skill. And it's actually easy to understand where the intrigue with Sotto is coming from, as in his sole season in the NBL, the big man has played 23 games while averaging 7.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 0.8 blocks on 50% shooting from the field and above 38% shooting from deep, despite only playing around 15 minutes per game. Well, those numbers definitely aren't eye-popping, which is why Sotto's decision to declare for the 2022 NBA Draft was met by mixed reactions from fans and critics alike. But looking beyond the numbers, I think the fact that Sotto as a teenager was able to hold his own in a professional basketball league full of ex-NBA players and grown men in general should already offer hope as to what this young big man can actually become once he fully develops his game and once he becomes integrated into a legitimate NBA system. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls here, and in this video, we'll do a quick dive into Kai Sotto's game to show why he could be the hidden overseas unicorn of the 2022 NBA Draft. But before we move on, if you guys happen to enjoy the content, please make sure to hit that like button or to click that subscribe button to show your support for the channel. It only takes a second of your time, but it would be much appreciated. So let's get to it. During his only season in the NBL, Kai Sotto was far from being the focal point of his team's offense as he only played around 15 minutes per game. However, despite the limited role, the big man was still able to display his on-court impact by simply using his 7'3" frame, his 7'6" wingspan, and the above-average mobility that he has for a guy with those kinds of physical attributes. First of all, in Adelaide, Kai generated most of his offense by either rolling to the rim, acting as a lob threat from the dunker spot, or by scrambling for offensive rebounds. Although he's not a very explosive type of big man, Kai was still able to turn most of his attempts around the basket into dunks simply because he's really good at leveraging his size whenever he attacks downhill out of pick and rolls or whenever he catches the ball out of lobs. Overall, Kai was still very productive with the limited role he had on the court, as according to the numbers, the Adelaide 36ers scored 1.33 points per possession in plays wherein Kai was used as a cutter and 1.17 points per possession in plays wherein Kai was used as a roll man in the pick and roll, both of which are numbers above the NBL's league average. So basically, both the eye test and the numbers suggest that, at the very least, Sotto has the potential to actually function as a reliable above-the-rim player, whether it be as a roll man or a lob threat at the NBA level. But what actually adds more intrigue to Sotto's skill set is that, unlike most guys above 7 feet tall, Kai also has a nice shooting touch from the perimeter. Even at the FIBA level a couple of years ago, Sotto has already displayed glimpses of his promising face-up game from the mid-range, which he has continued to do during his time in the NBL. Here, you see Kai receiving the ball at the mid-post. He threatens his man with a jab step before comfortably launching the easy 18-foot jumper. This time, Kai does it off the dribble. After setting the screen, he pops out to the top of the key before hopping straight into another long mid-range pull-up jumper. Plus, the good news is, Kai's shooting range also extends to the three-point line, as he has both a clean shooting stroke and a steady footwork, which enables him to comfortably launch attempts from behind the arc. But the thing is, Kai wasn't really utilized as a stretch big man in the NBL, as three-point attempts only comprised 13% of his offense in Adelaide, although he did shoot a very very promising 38.5% from deep, he only attempted a total of 13 3-pointers for the season, which is a very small sample size to look at. However, at this point, I'd still rather focus on the fact that not a lot of 7'3" guys are able to comfortably shoot from deep with the kind of shooting stroke and confidence that Kai has. Plus, free throw shooting percentages are usually a nice indicator of a young player's shooting potential, and in the NBL, Kai shot almost 70% from the stripe on almost 3 attempts per game, which isn't actually a bad percentage for a big man. All these things make me think that in the long run, Kai Sotto can actually be utilized as a viable shooter out of pick and pops or out of the corners in a space-oriented league like the NBA. Also, if you come to think of it, there's just really a lot more to gain for Kai's offensive growth once he becomes a consistent outside shooter, and that's because once opponents become more inclined to close out on him, the more that he would be able to utilize his ability to put the ball on the floor, because Kai also has the requisite ball handling ability and footwork that allows him to get to the rim all the way from the perimeter, which isn't something that a lot of 7-footers are able to do. Here, Kai is open to shoot a 3-pointer, but watch him use the nice pump fake to get past his defender with one dribble before using some hang time to finish at the rim even against contact. Then here, coming from the wings, Kai uses the screen to create a driving lane. He gets into the paint, goes for the spin, and just uses his size and touch to finish right at the rim. Again here from the top of the key, Kai goes for the pump fake and gets his man off the dribble, but this time he takes advantage of the double team by dishing out the drop pass to an open teammate below the rim. But speaking of his passing ability, Kai's playmaking and floor vision has already garnered some attention over the years. Because of his natural feel for the game, especially for a big man, Kai has shown the ability to dish out some crafty passes out of the wings or from the elbows. Well, Kai wasn't able to capitalize on this part of his game in the NBL as he only tallied a total of 14 assists as compared to 32 turnovers for the season. But watching his film, you'll actually see that the playmaking potential for Kai is actually there, which only makes me wonder how productive of a passing big man he could really become once he potentially becomes a legitimate offensive threat who already attracts double teams from different areas of the floor. But for him to maximize his offensive potential, I think Kai should definitely improve his frame and physicality. In the NBL, Kai did post-up in 19.3% of his possessions, but as a post-up guy, he only produced 0.68 points per possession, which is way below the NBL's league average. A lot of this has got to do with Kai's lack of strength. Well, I think Kai is always going to be more of a finesse type of big man rather than someone who would bang bodies around the paint. However, for a guy his size, Kai could obviously use a little bit more strength in order for him to take advantage of smaller matchups in the NBA. The good thing is, despite the lack of physicality, Kai is still able to score at the low block with the ball in his hands because he actually has a nice blend of soft touch and craft around the paint. Here, watch Kai work on the post. He goes for the pivot followed by another spin off the dribble to set up his nice right-handed floater. Then here in another post-up play, you see Kai backing down the smaller defender. He doesn't get all the way to the basket, but watch him finish with the nice one-handed semi-floater. Overall, if Kai can add strength and a stable post-up game to the rare offensive skill set that he already has, I think it's not hard to see him being able to carve a nice role for himself in a legitimate NBA offense. But with all the potential that Kai has displayed on the offensive end, there's probably a lot better things that can be said about his defense. As in the NBL, Sotto averaged almost 2 blocks per 36 minutes, which was the 7th best mark among all players to average at least 15 minutes per game. Plus, Kai's 5.3% block rate was also the 6th highest among all guys who played the center position in the league. All these numbers already project Kai Sotto as a solid rim protector. Well, Sotto's size and length are already a given. His imposing frame helps him practically block or alter every shot within his reach around the paint, but the thing is, he's also gifted with natural timing and nice footwork for a big man, which I think was most evident when he defended pick and rolls. Here, you can see how Kai plays in drop coverage. He stands in the middle of the paint, but as the ball handler approaches, Kai flips his hip and uses his size to block the guy's shot below the rim. Then here, you see Kai initially dropping as he tracks the ball handler, but as the pass is made to the roll man, Kai doesn't get overly aggressive, but he still manages to get the block from within 10 feet of the basket. Overall, the Adelaide 36ers held opponents to .72 points per possession in place wherein Kai was involved as a pick-and-roll defender, which number is way below the league average. This actually shows that Kai Sotto's defensive instincts and fundamentals together with his physical tools should enable him to become at least a capable NBA-level team defender in the long run. Well, sure, there are still questions as to whether or not Kai could be a switchable defender against more aggressive offensive schemes in the NBA, because he still doesn't have the quickest lateral movement among big men. But the good thing is, over the course of the NBL season, Kai has at least displayed the ability to hold his own in the perimeter against guards and wings by using his length and timing when defending in space. But at the end of the day, Kai Sotto is still a work in progress just like any other young prospect, and everyone knows that drafting him is going to be a gamble for any NBA team. However, guys who stand 7'3" with this kind of two-way potential don't actually come available all the time, and I think Sotto's two-way skill set and physical advantages already positions him to be played in versatile lineups at the NBA level. Well, if you use a second-round pick to draft him and he doesn't pan out, I think that's fine because most second-rounders don't pan out anyway, but if Kai develops to become at least a plus player, then the gamble definitely pays off as you have a 7'3" guy with all the potential in the world to become special. So, do you guys think Kai Sotto gets selected in the 2022 NBA Draft? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Real Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.